Welcome to Life of Hair. My name is James Atkinson and this is my good friend Josh Leonard, who is a fantastic colourist and is fortunately located just around the corner from where I work here in Brighton. Josh is natively Australian but come over here to bring us those fantastic lived-in blonde looks that everybody is after these days. So he's going to show us some of his absolute core work that he does, and you need to go over to his Instagram and check it out, which is linked just here, because he does some great tips, some fantastic stories, and make sure that you give him some love in the comment section and tell him that you came from the Life of Hair. Leave you to it, Josh.
Amazing. Thanks, James. So today on Sarah, I'm going to be showcasing just a really commercial blonde look. My sort of brand is really effortless. Myself, I'm a commercial colorist, so everything I do, I want to be expensive and wearable, long lasting. I always try and work with my clients' natural base and just enhance what they have naturally. I feel like this way you have lower maintenance colors. Your clients, then you gain their trust and they really love you as a hairdresser and they'll invest in you. So although they're coming in less frequently, I feel like I have a more loyal clientele that seek me out because of what I specialize in and because I'm trying to give them the best looking color for the longest amount of time. So for Sarah, I'm going to start around her hairline, around here with everyone's hairline. This is our little baby hairs. And we've got these obviously little peaks and areas. So everyone's hairline is unique. There's not a set format I would go. The only thing I would do is always brush forward just to get those little baby hairs out. I don't want to be highlighting those. The reason being is when we highlight something, we draw the eye to it. So the depth will help to soften this area here and it won't make it look weak. If we do highlight it, we'll make it look weaker, and also then it looks like broken hair rather than baby hair. So I've done Sarah's hair the last few times and you can see there's not really any blonde on those tips because I always leave those out, and that means she's going to have the strongest hairline she can have. So I just always turn my client towards me. Section wise, I just go from her natural part. I'm not big on fancy crazy sectioning. I just sort of work in an easy way. I'm all about being quick really in the studio. When I'm going in with this hairline, I'm really wanting to go and follow the angle of the hairline. Here we can see where we are a tiny bit shorter as well. I'm going to go in and with my stitches, I'm going really deep. I'm also picking from the middle of the hair. This ensures that I get a thicker section. So when our hairline goes back, we're going to have a little bit of blonde peeking through. Always pull your hairline back and see, is that going to get the blonde into the hairline or do we need to pick deeper? I like wider foil as well. This just enables me to take less sections. Start in the middle. We just want to secure our foil. I never add more product on, especially around the hairline. I just turn my brush and I use the product I've got. My hand underneath the support. If you get any product, just use that. Feathering down. So the undercoat I'm looking for is a level 9. Because currently we're lifted on the ends in our lightest area to a level 9. I don't want to lift it up to a level 10, especially as we're only highlighting around the face and the part. I then will have unbalanced areas. I'll have lightness around here and then more warmth through the ends here. And I almost start to pivot a little bit. So I've got more width coming back here. This is going to ensure that I have more lightness towards the face. So we're just going to retouch just behind the ear as well. So you'll notice when I'm taking my sections, I'm really picking out and leaving lots of depth in between. Like we just spoke about, we want to keep that dimension in there. And we want to have Sarah's natural coming through the colour to create depth and texture rather than having to add it back in because we've gone overboard. I do like a soft blush back. And this just takes out any of those little baby hairs in here. It's not a tease, I'm really light with my hand. And that will ensure we don't have little fuzzy, fluffy, lightened ones. I'm using a L'Oreal lightener. I also use like a Redken flash lift. For this service, because I want the lift to be quick, I'm using a 9 levels. So the power of pre-lightener is always in the powder. And then the speed is in the oxidant. So I'm going to get the same level of lift relatively with a 10 volt as I would with a 20 volt. It's just a 20 volt will get me there quicker. So now we're always working with a haircut as well. I feel like when you have a fringe, Sarah's sort of growing out a fringe, you want to make sure you target the whole fringe. If we sort of just did a face frame and went a few highlights back, this area here is all going to sit very dark. Even if we then went horizontal, we're not going to get the coverage, and we want to sort of tackle the hair as it's falling. So her hair here, from her recession up, is all sort of falling forward. This is why we've cut it into a fringe section. So we want to make sure we're targeting the colour in that same method, that same growth pattern. So you could either take the whole triangle section and come from the hairline back. That would give you more colour, and it wouldn't give you as much depth and softness at the root. So if I wanted a really high impact, I'd be going horizontally straight through, because I know, like if you think about a mohawk section with highlighting, that's going to give you the most coverage and the most impact. But for Sarah, because I want it to be nice and soft, I also don't want to overload the front and the top of the head when I'm not touching up the rest. So we have to think about the overall colour. And really this sort of thing is less is more. Around the front here, see where I just have little areas that are a tiny bit weaker from highlighting. We just want to make sure we're leaving those out. It's not about like packing in the colour. She never wears her hair back, so I've always checked that with my client. Do you wear your hair back? Do you wear your hair down? So we don't need to go hard on the hairline to get coverage. We can go a little bit softer. And my whole thing is just maintaining the integrity. We've taken Sarah from a level, she was like a level 6, like quite grown out all over with that semi colour and very warm, to what we have now, this like nice blonde. So leaving that little area out, and I'm just going to go in again, not quite as deep and thick as I did in our side section there. I want the fringe to be nice and fine and detailed rather than being too heavy. I just keep lightener on the lip of my brush. I try and keep things really nice and clean. Making sure to saturate. I'm always turning my brush, opening up the hair, flicking out anything that doesn't need to be lightened. You can do a double fold if you want, just to be really secure. There's not really any point. I'm not putting any colour in between. I'm not tinting in between. It's nice and secure. I'm going to give a little flap so it's out of Sarah's face. Same thing here. We're pivoting so that we keep a nice softness. And that way we don't have to rely on our toning so much. I know when my Redken Shades Yucca Gloss fades out, I've put the bones of the colour in. They're the fundamentals to make it and help it blend. One tip though, when you're taking a section, we're always wanting to pivot from here. This point here, we want the blonde to give that nice face frame. So you always want to make sure you're picking up this first hair here. That is the most crucial. So we have that hair here, so that then we're going to start to create, when I'm root shadowing, we're going to create and keep that blonde right in at her face frame there. I always fold my sections small as well, like my foils, when I'm doing a fringe or any sort of detailed area. I think it helps to not have as much foil to work with, otherwise it can get a bit hard with your hands. I'm working with a plastic tail comb, which I've only started doing recently. I feel like it's good because it's wide here, so it does pick up a lot more hair. And for these sort of looks that I'm wanting to create, I'm wanting to have that sort of really piecey look. I'm not wanting it to look too highlighted, so I don't want my sections, for example, I don't want to be too fine, like a baby light. So it's sort of, when we're highlighting traditionally, you can go flat. So you can go in flat and pick up from the surface. So this is obviously going to give you a really fine, super natural result. I just feel like that's pointless. It's going to get lost in the hair. And we've got all this depth in between. When I'm picking up highlights these days, even with classic highlights, I really want to dig in. And I really want that nice, you can see how much more hair is in that section. And from under here, you can see that little triangle I've created. Rather than flat, it's going to give me more impact. And I just want to make sure I've got lots of separation in between my weaves. I don't want to create a line, because essentially that's what a highlight is a line, it's a stripe. So I want to make sure I'm creating that piecey look. Keeping in mind that I'm root shadowing, I'm going to root shadow this back down afterwards with a level 7. I sort of want to emulate our natural colour, maybe with a touch more warmth than what we have naturally. So I've got something like 7N, 7GB, a gold beige and a 7 natural. in Red Conchazio Q, which is a demi-permanent colour, so it's acidic and it's not going to shift my base. This is the best thing about the colour. If I was using an alkaline colour, where we're going to lift Sarah's natural and she's going to have residual warmth coming back in, and that's something I just don't want. I want that really low maintenance colour longevity. Again, I'm picking up this hair here on that first section. That's going to create our face frame. As the section gets smaller, I'll probably end up taking less weaves. So the next one I might have 3 stitches in there. Feather up. Turn my brush to the side. So if we have any level 9, I'm not lightening that. I'm only sort of looking in the highlight for areas that are darker than a level 9 because I want to lift and highlight that. We're getting a tiny bit finer, more spaced out as we get to the point. So the lightener can be so deceiving if you've got like a white lightener. So you want to scrape the product off. Just still a little bit of orange in there. So I think we're probably a bit more on that level 8. So I want to give that a little bit longer. Cool, and we'll check back, but this is what I'm going to ensure to make sure we're not lifting to white, because a lightener, if it stays wet and incubated, it will just keep lifting to white, and then once it gets to white, it's lost all the protein in the hair that makes the hair yellow, and then it will snap. So this is when we get breakage. So I never lift to white. This is before we tone. Yeah, we've pulled all the highlights out, so we're going to blend down with a 7 here. So we'll have still a shimmer more than at the front, so it will give the face the fringe little feature. But we're still wanting to blend it and shadow it right down. So I'll show you how I do that.